Welcome to Tongue Jurors, performed by the High School at American Embassy School. Please silence your cell phones and noise-making devices at this time. We'll be having 2 short intermissions in this show. Please turn off all flash photography and enjoy the show. Thank you.
Murder in the first degree, premeditated homicide, is the most serious charge tried in our criminal courts. You have heard a long and complex case, ladies and gentlemen, and it is now your duty to sit down to try and separate the facts from the fancy. One man is dead. The life of another is at stake. If there is a reasonable doubt in your minds as to the guilt of the accused, then you must declare him not guilty. If, however, there is no reasonable doubt, then he must be found guilty. Whichever way you decide, the verdict must be unanimous. I urge you to deliberate honestly and thoughtfully. You are faced with a grave responsibility. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
You know something?
I know lots of things. I'm in advertising.
Well, I know it's hot.
I never would have known that if she hadn't told me. Would you?
I suppose not. I kind of forgot it.
All I've done all day is sweat.
I bet you aren't sweating like that kid who was tried.
You think they at least air conditioned the place? How much dropped yet in court?
My taxes are high enough.
This should go fast anyway.
Yeah, no, it's very hot.
Madam Foreman, looks like we're all here. If you need anything, I'll be right on the other side of the door. All you have to do is knock.
Did he lock that door?
Yes, he did.
What do they think we are? Crooks?
They lock us in here for a little while.
And then they lock that kid up forever, and that's fine by me.
I never knew they did that.
Sure they locked the door. I mean, what did you think?
I just never knew. It never occurred to me.
Shall we all admit right now that it's hot and humid and that our tempers are short?
It's been a pretty hard week.
I feel just fine.
I wonder what's going down at the office. You know how it is in advertising. In 6 days, my job could be gone. And the whole company, too. They aren't going to like this.
Well, figure this is our duty.
I never objected to doing my duty. I just mentioned that I might not have a job by the time I get back.
You should ask him to hire you. He's rich. Look at the suit.
Is it custom tailored?
Why, yes, it is.
I have an uncle who's a tailor.
Oh, how does he do?
Not too well. A friend of his, actually. A friend of my uncle's, that is. He wanted to be on this jury in my place. Why didn't you let him? I would have done anything to miss this. And get caught or something? You know what kind of fine you'd pay for anything like that? Anyways, this friend of his, he was on a jury, on a case just about like this one.
So what happened?
They let him go. Reasonable doubt. And you know, about 8 years later, they found out he did it anyways. A guilty man, a murderer, was turned loose on the streets.
Did they get him?
They couldn't.
Why not?
A man can't be held in double jeopardy. Unless it's a hung jury, they can't try a man twice for the same crime.
But isn't going to happen here.
6 days. They should have done it in 2. Talk, talk, talk. Have you ever heard so much talk about nothing?
Well, I guess we're entitled.
Everybody gets a fair trial. That's the system. Well, I suppose you can't say anything against it.
Hey, how'd you like that business about the knife? You ever hear a phonier story?
Well, look, you've got to expect that. I mean, you know what you're dealing with.
He bought a switch knife that night.
And then he lost it.
A hole in his pocket.
A hole in his father.
Awful way to cure a father. A knife in his chest.
I mean, look at the kind of people they are. You know them.
What's the matter? You got a cold?
A bad one. Man, these hot weather colds, they can kill you.
Yeah, I had one last year. Well, I was on vacation, too. Right, this better go fast. I got tickets to Hamilton tonight, and I must be the only person in the whole world who hasn't seen it yet. Okay, Your Honor, start the show.
All right, everyone, let's take seats. How about sitting down? The gentleman at the window. How about sitting down?
Sorry. It's tough to figure, isn't it? Kid kills his father. BAM! Just like that. Well, I guess it's the element, you know? Let these kids run wild. Maybe it serves them right.
There are better proofs than some emotion you may have. Perhaps a dislike for some group?
We all agreed that it was hot.
And that our tempers would run short.
That's if we disagree, but this is open and shut. Let's get it done.
All right. You can all handle this any way you want to. I mean, I'm not going to make any rules. If you want to discuss it first and then vote, that's one option. Or we can vote right now and see where we stand.
Let's just vote right now. Who knows, maybe we can all go home.
Yeah. Let's use where.
Right, let's vote now.
All right.
Works for me. Any objections?
That was easy.
All right. All those voting guilty, raise your hands. 8, 9, 10, 11. Okay. All those voting not guilty?
Hey, you're in left field.
11 to 1. 11 votes guilty, 1 vote not guilty. Now we know where we stand.
Do you really believe he's not guilty?
I don't know.
After 6 days, he doesn't know.
In 6 days, I could learn calculus. This is ABC.
I don't believe that it's as simple as ABC.
I never saw a guiltier man in my life.
What does a guilty man look like? He's not guilty until we say he's guilty. Are we to vote on his face?
Listen, you sat right in court and heard the same things that we did. The man's a dangerous killer. You could see it.
Where do you look to see if a man's a killer?
Well,
I'd like to know. Tell me what the facial features of a killer are. Maybe you know something I don't know.
Look, what is it about this case that makes you think the boy's innocent?
He's 19 years old.
that's old enough. He knifed his own father 4 inches into the chest. An innocent little 19-year-old kid.
I agree with you that the boy is guilty, but let's try to avoid using emotionally colored arguments.
All right. They proved it a dozen different ways in court. Do you want me to list them?
No.
Well then, do you believe the stupid story he told?
No.
Do you believe the kid's story?
I don't know whether I believe it or not. Maybe I don't.
So what'd you vote not guilty for?
There were 11 votes for guilty. It's not so easy for me to raise my hand and send a boy off to die without talking about it first.
Who says it's easy for me?
Or me.
No one.
He's still just as guilty, whether it's an easy vote or a hard one.
Well, is there something wrong that I voted so quickly?
Not necessarily.
I think the kid's guilty. You couldn't change my mind if you talked for 100 years.
I don't want to change your mind.
Just what are you trying to do?
I want to talk for a while. Look, the boy's been kicked around all his life. You know, living in a slum. His mother dead since he was 9. It's not a good head start. He's a tough, angry kid. You know why slum kids get that way? Because we knock them over the head. Once a day, every day. I think maybe we owe him a few words. That's all.
All right. It's hard. Sure. It was hard for me. Everything I've got, I worked for. I worked my way through college. But that was a long time ago. And perhaps you do forget. I fought, yes, but I never killed.
I know what it's like. I never killed nobody.
I've been kicked around too. Wait until you've worked at an ad agency and the big boy who buys the advertising walks in. We all know.
In my country, in Pakistan, kicking was a science. But let's try to find something better than that.
You know what? I don't mind telling you this, mister. We don't owe the kid a thing. I mean, he got a fair trial, didn't he? Do you know how much that trial cost? He's lucky he even got it. Look, we're all grown-ups here. You're not going to tell us that we're supposed to believe him knowing what he is. Look, I've lived among him all my life. You cannot believe a word they say. You know that.
Oh, I don't know that. What a terrible thing for a man to believe. To think that dishonesty is a group characteristic? You have no monopoly on the truth, sir.
All right, it's not Sunday. We don't need a sermon.
But what this man is saying is dangerous.
I don't see the need for arguing like this. I think we ought to be able to behave like civilized people.
Right.
All right, if you insist.
Thank you.
Sure.
Now, if we're going to discuss this case, why, let's discuss the facts.
I agree. We have our job and our duty here. Let's do it.
If you gentlemen and ladies don't mind, I'm going to close the window. It was blowing on my neck,
If you don't mind, I'd like to have the window open.
but it was blowing on me.
It's summer. It's hot. Don't you want a little air?
Look, I was very uncomfortable.
There are 12 of us in this room, and it's the only window if you don't mind.
I have some rights too.
So do the rest of us.
Couldn't you just trade chairs with somebody at the other end of the table?
All right. I'm willing to trade. I'm willing to open the window if someone would trade.
You can take my chair.
Thank you.
Shall we get back to the case?
Yeah, let's.
I may have an idea here. I'm just thinking out loud now, but it seems as though it's up to us to convince this gentleman that we're right and he's wrong. Maybe if we each talk for a minute or two, you know? Try it on for size.
That sounds fair.
Very fair.
All right, let's have order. Right, we'll start with you.
Oh, well, I just think he's guilty. I thought it was obvious
In what way was it obvious?
that nobody proved otherwise.
Nobody has to prove otherwise. Innocent until proven guilty. The burden of proof is on the prosecution. The defendant doesn't have to open his mouth. That's in the Constitution. The Fifth Amendment. You've heard of it.
Everyone has.
Well, of course I've heard of it. I just think he's guilty.
No reasons. Just guilty. There is a life at stake here.
All right, let's get to the facts. Number one, let's take the old man who lived on the second floor of the building, right underneath the room where the killing happened. At 10 minutes past 12, on the night of the murder, he said he heard loud noises in the upstairs apartment. Said it sounded like a fight. He heard the kid say to his father, "I'm going to kill you." A second later, he heard a body hit the floor, and he saw the kid run out of the house, through the hall, and down the stairs 15 seconds after that. He called the police, and they found the body with a knife in his chest.
There's no reasonable doubt in that.
And the coroner fixed the time of death at around midnight.
Exactly. So what else do you want?
It doesn't seem to fit.
The boy's entire story is flimsy. He claims he was at the movies. That's a little ridiculous, don't you think? I mean, he couldn't even remember what picture he saw.
That's right. You hear that? You're absolutely right.
He didn't have any ticket stub.
Who keeps a ticket stub at the movies?
That's true enough.
I suppose, but the cashier didn't recognize him.
And the ticket taker didn't either.
Look, I mean, what about the woman across the street? If her testimony don't prove it, then nothing does.
That's right. She saw the killing, didn't she?
Okay, let's go in order.
Just a minute. Here's a woman who's lying in bed and can't sleep. It's hot, you know. Anyways, she wakes up and looks out the window, and right across the street, she sees the kid stick a knife into his father.
How can she really be sure it was the kid when she saw it through the windows of a passing elevated train?
Well, she's known the kid all his life. His window is right opposite hers across the L tracks, and she swore. Yes, she swore she saw him do it.
I heard her swear to it.
Okay. And they proved in court that you can look through the windows of a passing L train at night and see what's happening on the other side. I mean, they proved it.
Weren't you telling us just a minute or two ago that you can't trust them? That you can't believe them?
So?
Then I'd like to ask you something. How come you believed her? She's one of them, too.
Yo, you're a pretty smart fellow, aren't you?
Okay, now please. I don't want any fights in here.
It's all right, calm down. What are you letting him get you all upset for? Relax.
Well, they did take us out to the woman's room, and we did look through the windows of a passing L train, didn't we?
Yes, we did.
And weren't you able to see everything that was going on the other side?
I didn't see as well as they told me I would see, but I did see what happened on the other side.
You see? Do you see?
Okay, let's calm down now. It's your turn.
I'll pass it.
That's your privilege. How about you?
I don't know. I started to be convinced, with the testimony from those people across the hall. Didn't they say something about an argument between the father and the boy around 7 o'clock that night? I mean, I can be wrong.
I think it was 8 o'clock, not 7.
That's right, 8 o'clock.
They heard the father hit the boy twice and then saw the boy walk angrily out of the house.
Right.
What does that prove?
Well, it doesn't exactly prove anything. It's just part of the picture. I never said it proved anything.
Anything else?
No.
I don't know. Most of it's been said already. And look, we can talk about this thing all day, but I think we're wasting our time.
I don't.
Neither do I. Go on.
Look at the kid's record. He stole a car. He's been arrested for mugging, and I think they said he stabbed somebody in the arm.
They did.
He was picked up for knife fighting, and at age 15, he was in reform school.
And they sent him to reform school for stabbing somebody.
Well, this is a very fine boy.
Ever since he was 5 years old, his father beat him up all the time. He used his fists.
So would I on a kid like that.
You're right. It's the kids, the way they are. They just don't listen. I've got a kid. When he was 8 years old, he ran away from a fight. I saw him. I was so ashamed. I told him right out, I'm going to make a man out of you. I'm going to bust you up into little pieces trying. When he was 15, he hit me in the face. He's big, I haven't seen him in 3 years. Rotten kid. I hate tough kids. You work your heart out. Sorry, let's get on with it.
Look, we're missing the point here. This boy, let's say he's a product of a filthy neighborhood and a broken home. We can't help that. We're not here to go into the reasons why slums are breeding grounds for criminals. They are. I know it. And so do you. I mean, the children that come out of slum backgrounds, they're potential menaces to society.
You said it right there. I don't want any part of them. Believe me.
I've lived in a slum all my life.
Just wait a second.
I used to play in a backyard that was filled with garbage. Maybe it still smells on me.
Now, please. I'm sure there was nothing personal.
There is something personal!
Hey, now, calm down. I'm sure he didn't mean you. Let's not be so sensitive.
Who did he mean?
I can understand the sensitivity.
Now let's stop the bickering.
We're wasting time.
It's your turn.
All right. I had a peculiar feeling about this trial. Somehow I felt that the defense counsel never really conducted a thorough cross-examination. Too many questions were left unasked.
Well, it doesn't change my opinion about the guilt of the kid. Still, I agree with you. The defense counsel was bad.
So?
This is a point.
What about facts?
So many questions were never answered.
What about the questions that were answered? For instance, let's take that cute little switch knife. The one that fine, upright boy admitted to buying.
All right, let's talk about it. Let's get in here and look at it. I'd like to see it again, Madam Foreman.
Oh, come on now. I don't see why we need to see it again. We all know what it looks like.
The gentleman has a right to see exhibits and evidence.
Fine.
This knife is a pretty strong piece of evidence, don't you think?
I do.
Now let's get the sequence of events right as they relate to the switch knife.
The boy admits to going out of his house at 8 o'clock after being slapped by his father.
Or punched.
Or punched. He went to a neighborhood store and bought a switch knife. The storekeeper was arrested the following day after having admitted selling it to the boy.
I think we all agree that it's a pretty unusual knife. Pretty hard to forget something like that.
The storekeeper identified the knife and said it was the only one of its kind he had in stock. Why did the boy get it?
As a present for a friend, he says.
Am I right so far?
Right.
Next, the boy claims that on the way home, the knife must have fallen through a hole in his coat pocket, and that he never saw it again. Now there's the story, ladies and gentlemen. You know what really happened. The boy took the knife home, and a few hours later, stabbed his father with it, and even remembered to wipe off the fingerprints. Thank you. Everyone connected with this case has identified this knife. How are you trying to tell me that someone picked it up off the street, went to the boy's house, and stabbed his father with it just to be amusing?
No. I'm saying it's possible that the boy lost a knife and that someone else stabbed his father with a similar knife. It's possible.
Take a look at this knife. I mean, it's a very strange knife. I've never seen one like it before in my life. And neither had the storekeeper who sold it to him. Aren't you trying to make us accept a pretty incredible coincidence?
I'm not trying to make anyone accept it. I'm just saying it's possible.
And I'm saying it's not possible. What do you think you're doing?
Yeah, what is it? Who do you think you are?
Okay, quiet. Let's be quiet.
Where did you get that?
I got it in a little junk shop around the corner from the boy's house. It cost $10.
All right, now you listen to me.
I'm listening.
You pulled a real smart trick here, but you proved absolutely nothing. Maybe there are 10 knives like that, so what?
Maybe there are.
The boy lied and you know it.
Maybe he didn't lie. Maybe he did lose the knife, and maybe he did go to the movies. Maybe the reason the cashier didn't see him was because he sneaked into the movies. And maybe he was ashamed to say so. Is there anyone here who didn't sneak into the movies once or twice when they were young?
I didn't.
Really? Not even once?
We didn't have movies.
Oh. Maybe he did go to the movies. Maybe he didn't. And he may have lied. Do you think he lied?
Now that's a stupid question. I mean, sure he lied.
Do you?
You don't have to ask me that. You know my answer. You lied.
Do you think he lied?
I don't know.
Oh, now wait a second. What are you, the kid's lawyer? Listen, there's still 11 of us who thinks he's guilty. You're alone. What are you trying to accomplish here? If you want to be stubborn and hang this jury, he'll be tried again and found guilty sure as he's born.
You're probably right.
So what are you going to do about it? We can be here all night.
It's only one night. A man may die.
Oh, now come on.
Well, yes, that's true.
I think we ought to get on with it now.
Yeah.
How can you like this guy?
Well, what do you say? You're the one holding up the whole show.
Obviously, you don't think the kid's guilty.
I have a doubt in my mind.
But you haven't really presented anything to us that makes it possible for us to understand your doubt. Now, there's the old man downstairs. I mean, he heard it. He heard the kid shriek it out.
The old woman across the track, she saw it.
And we know we bought a Switch knife that night, and we don't know where he really was. At the movies.
And earlier that night, the kid and his father did have a fight.
I mean, he's been a violent kid all the way. And while, sure, that doesn't prove anything.
I mean, still, you know.
I've got a proposition to make. I want to call for a vote. I want you 11 to vote by secret ballot. I'll abstain. If there's still 11 votes for guilty, I won't stand alone. We'll take in a guilty verdict right now.
All right, let's do it.
Let's roll it.
Perhaps this is best.
All right.
Thank you.
Guilty. 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 Guilty.
That's 6.
Please. Guilty. 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 Not guilty. Guilty.
How do you like that?
Who was it? I think we have the right to know.
All right, who was it? What idiot changed their vote?
Is that the way to talk about a man's life?
Whose life are you talking about? The life of a dead man or the life of a murderer?
Yeah, I want to know who.
So do I.
Excuse me, this was a secret ballot.
No one looked while we did it, but now I want to know.
A secret ballot. We agreed on that point, no? If the person wants it to remain a secret, then...
What do you mean? There are no secrets in here. I know who it was. What's the matter with you? You come in here and you vote guilty, and then you let this slick preacher start to tear your heart out with stories about a poor little boy who just couldn't help becoming a murderer. So you change your vote. Now, if that isn't the most sickening...
Now hold it.
I agree with you that the boy's guilty, but let's be fair.
Hold it? Be fair? That's just what I'm saying. We're trying to put a guilty man in the chair where he belongs. And all of a sudden, we're listening to fairy tales.
Now, wait a minute.
Now, you listen to me.
Let's try to keep this organized, everyone.
It isn't organized, but let's try to be civilized.
Please, I would like to say something here. I've always thought that a man was entitled to have unpopular opinions in this country. This is the reason I came here. I wanted to have the right to disagree.
Do you disagree with us?
Usually I would, but in this one case, I agree with you. But the point I wish to make is that in my country, I'm ashamed to say that...
Now, what do we have to listen to? The whole history of your country?
It's always wise to bear in mind what's happened in other countries when people aren't allowed to disagree. But we are. So let's stick to the subject.
Yeah, let's stick to the subject. I want to ask you, what made you change your vote?
I want to know too. You haven't told us yet.
What makes you think I did change my vote?
I just do. Now get on with it.
Now, she's got nothing to tell you. She didn't change her vote. I did.
I was going to tell you, but you seemed so sure of yourself.
Sorry. Okay, now
maybe you'd like to know why.
let me...
The man wants to speak.
Thank you. This man, he chose to stand alone against us. That is his right. Now, no matter how much you believe in something, how strongly, it takes a great deal of courage to stand alone. He left the verdict up to us. He gambled for our support. And I gave it to him. I want to hear more. The vote is 10-2.
All right. Now the speech is over. Let's go on.
If there was anything in the kid's favor, I'd vote not guilty.
I don't see what it is.
Neither do I. They're clutching at straws.
As guilty as they get. That's the kid, I suppose.
It's that one juror that's holding out. But he'll come around. He's got to, and fundamentally, he's a very reasonable man.
I guess so.
You know, they haven't come up with one real fact yet to back up a not guilty verdict.
It's hard, you know.
Yes, it is. I mean, what does guilty beyond reasonable doubt even mean?
What is a reasonable doubt?
Exactly. You see, when a life is at stake, what is reasonable doubt? And you've got to have law and order. You've got to draw the line somewhere. Because if you don't, everyone will just start knifing one another.
Not much doubt here.
Two men think so. I wonder why. I really wonder why.
You know, you do hear stories about innocent men who have gone to jail or death sometimes, and then years later, things turn up.
Right, and then on the other hand, some killers get turned loose, and they go and they do it again. They squeeze out on some technicality, and they kill again.
Hey, listen, now that we've cooled down a little bit, sorry. I was a little excited a minute ago. You know how it is. I didn't mean to get nasty. Nothing personal.
Okay.
Look, supposing you answer me this. If the kid didn't kill him, who did?
As far as I know, we're supposed to decide whether or not the boy on trial is guilty. We're not concerned with anyone else's motives here.
I suppose, but who else had a motive?
Kid's father was along in years. Maybe an old grudge.
And just remember that it is guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. This is a very important thing to remember.
Everyone's a lawyer. Supposing you explain to us what your reasonable doubts are.
I don't know, it's hard to say. So far, it's just a feeling that I have.
A feeling? What are we gonna do? Spend the night talking about your feelings? I mean, what about the facts?
You said it. Listen, the old man said he heard the kid shout, "I'm going to kill you." A second later, he heard a body hit the floor, and he saw the boy run down the stairs and out of the house 15 seconds after that.
Where's the reasonable doubt in that?
That's right. And let's not forget the woman across the street. She looked into the open window and saw the boy stab his father. She saw it.
Now, what do you have to say to that? If that's not enough for you.
It's not enough for me.
What is enough for you? I'd like to know. The woman saw the killing through the windows of a moving elevated train. The train had 5 cars, and she said she saw it through the windows of the last 2 cars. I mean, she remembers the most insignificant details.
What do you think about that?
I don't know. It doesn't sound right to me.
Well, supposing you think about it. Hey, pass me some paper. Let's play some tic-tac-toe. Might as well pass the time.
This isn't a game.
Hey, now wait a minute!
This is a man's life.
Who do you think you
Okay,
are?
let's calm down.
Have a good mind to walk around this table and belt him one.
Okay, now please. I don't want any fights in here.
Did you see him? The nerve, the absolute nerve!
All right. Forget it. Don't mean anything.
This isn't a game. Who does he think he is?
How about sitting down?
Weren't we talking about elevated trains?
Yes, we were.
So?
All right. How long does it take an elevated train going at top speed to pass a given point?
What does that have to do with anything?
How long would it take? Guess.
I wouldn't have the slightest idea.
Neither would I.
I don't think they mentioned it.
What do you think?
About 10 or 12 seconds, maybe?
I'd say that was a fair guess. Anyone else?
I would think about 10 seconds, perhaps.
About 10 seconds, yes?
All right, we're agreed. 10 seconds. What are you getting at?
This. An L train passes a given point in 10 seconds. That given point is the window of the room in which the killing took place. You can almost reach out of the window of that room and touch the L, right?
That's right. I tried it.
So?
All right, well, let me ask you this. Has anyone here ever lived right by the L tracks?
I've lived close to them.
They make a lot of noise, don't they? I lived right by the L tracks. When your window is open and the train goes by, the noise is almost unbearable. You can't hear yourself think.
Okay, you can't hear yourself think. Get to the point.
The old man who lived downstairs heard the boy say,
He didn't say it, he screamed it.
The old man heard the boy scream, "I'm going to kill you." And 1 second later, he heard the body fall. 1 second. That's the testimony, right?
Right.
The woman across the street looked through the windows of the last 2 cars of the L and saw the body fall, right?
Right.
So?
The last 2 cars. The last 2 cars.
What are you giving us here?
An L train takes 10 seconds to pass a given point, or 2 seconds per car. That L had been going by the old man's window for at least 6 seconds, and maybe more, before the body fell, according to the woman. The old man would have had to hear the boy say, "I'm going to kill you," while the front of the L was roaring past his nose. It's not possible that he could have heard it.
What do you mean? Sure he could have heard it.
Was an L train going by?
He did say he screamed it out.
An L train makes a lot of noise.
It's enough for me.
It's enough for me, too.
I don't think you could have heard it.
Maybe the old man didn't hear it. I mean, with the all noise.
Oh, what are you people talking about? Are you calling the old man a liar?
Something doesn't fit.
Well, it stands to reason.
You're crazy. Why would the old man lie? What has he got to gain?
Attention, maybe?
You keep coming up with these bright sayings. Why don't you mail one into a newspaper? They pay $2.
What does that have to do with a man's life? Why might the old man have lied? You have a right to be heard.
It's hard. It's just that I looked at the man for a very long time, and the seam of his jacket was cut under his arm. Did you notice this? This is an old man with a torn jacket and who carries 2 canes. Now, I think I know this man better than anyone else here. This is a tired, frightened, insignificant man who has never had any recognition, never had his name in the papers. Nobody knows him after 75 years. This is a very sad thing. A man like this ought to be quoted, listened to, paid attention to, just once. This is a very important thing.
So you're trying to tell us that he lied about a thing like this just so he could be important?
Well, I don't think that he would have necessarily have lied. Rather, he would have made himself believe that he was telling the truth.
Well, that's the most fantastic thing I've ever heard. How can you make up a thing like that?
I'm not making it up.
You must be making it up. People don't lie about things like that.
He made himself believe that he was telling the truth.
What do you know about it?
I speak from experience.
What?
I am the same man.
I think we all understand now. Thank you.
If you want to admit you're a liar, that's fine by me.
Now that is too much.
He's a liar. He just told us so.
He did not say he was a liar. He was explaining.
Sir, didn't you just say that you were a liar?
Please. He was explaining the circumstances so we could understand why the old man might have lied. There is a difference.
A liar's a liar. That's all there is to it.
Please. Have some compassion.
Everyone, please. We have a job to do. Let's stick to it.
I think they've covered it.
I hope we have.
All right? Is that all?
Cough drop?
No. Thank you.
Anybody want a cough drop?
Let's get on with it.
I'll take one. Thanks. Now, there's something else I'd like to point out here. I think we proved that the old man couldn't have heard the boy say, "I'm going to kill you."
I don't believe it.
Let's hear him through anyways.
But supposing he really did hear him say, "I'm going to kill you." This phrase, how many times has each of you used it? Probably hundreds. If you do that once more, Junior, I'm going to murder you. Come on, Rocky, kill him. We use it every day. Doesn't mean that we're really going to kill someone.
Don't the circumstances alter that somewhat?
The old man was murdered.
One thing more. The phrase was, "I'm going to murder you," and the kid screamed it at the top of his lungs.
That's the way I understand it.
Now don't try and tell me he didn't mean it. Anyone says a thing like that the way he said it, they mean it.
How they mean it.
All right, well, let me ask you this. Do you really think that the boy would shout out a thing like that so the whole neighborhood would hear it? I don't think so. He's much too bright for that.
Bright? I mean, he's a common ignorant slob. He don't even speak good English.
He doesn't even speak good English.
The boy is clever enough.
I'd like to change my vote to not guilty.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm sure.
That's your privilege. The vote is 9-3 in favor of guilty.
I'd like to know why you've changed your vote.
I think there is a doubt.
Where? What is the doubt?
There's the knife.
Oh, fine.
He talked you into believing a fairy tale.
Go on. Give us the reasons.
The old man, too. Maybe he didn't lie, but then just maybe he did. Maybe he didn't like the kid.
Well, if that isn't the end.
I believe there is a reasonable doubt.
What are you basing it on? Stories that this guy made up. He had to write for Amazing Detective Monthly. He'd make a fortune. Listen, the kid had a lawyer, didn't he? Why didn't his lawyer bring up all these points?
Lawyers can't think of everything.
Oh, brother, you sit in here and pull stories out of thin air, and now we're supposed to believe that the old man didn't get out of bed, run to the door, and see the kid beat it down the stairs 15 seconds after the killing.
That's a testimony, I believe.
The old man swore to this. Yes, he swore to this, only so he could feel important.
Did the old man say he ran to the door?
Ran, walked, what's the difference? He got there.
I don't remember what he said accurately, but I don't see how he could have run.
He said he went. I remember now. He went from his bedroom to the front door. That's enough, isn't it?
Where was his bedroom again?
Down the hall somewhere.
Down the hall? Are we to send a man off to die because it's down the hall somewhere?
Well, I thought you remembered everything. Don't you remember that?
No, I don't.
I don't remember it either.
Madam Foreman, I'd like to take a look at the diagram of the apartment.
Why don't we just have them run the whole trial all over again so you can get everything straight?
The bedroom is down the hall. Do you know? Do you know exactly where it is?
Well,
Madam Foreman?
I heard you.
Come on now. What's this one for? How come you're the only one who wants to see exhibits all the time?
I'd like to see this one too.
And I'd like to stop wasting time.
I mean, are we going to start wading through all that nonsense about where the body was found?
We're not. We're going to find out how a man who's had 2 strokes in the past 3 years and who walks with a pair of canes could get to his front door in 15 seconds.
He said 20 seconds.
He said 15.
How does he know how long 20 seconds is? You can't judge that sort of thing.
He said 15 seconds, and he was really positive about that too.
He's an old man, you saw that. Half the time he was confused. How can he be positive about anything? Well, you know.
No, I don't know. Maybe you know.
Would you like to see?
Yes, thank you. That's what you wanted?
Yes, thank you.
do me a favor, wake me up when this is all over.
I've looked at this diagram for 2 hours. Enough is enough.
Some of us are interested. Go on.
All right. This is the apartment in which the killing took place. The old man's apartment is directly beneath it and exactly the same. Here are the L tracks. The bedroom, another bedroom, living room, bathroom, kitchen, and this is the hall. Here's the front door to the apartment, and here are the steps. Now, the old man was in bed in this room. He says he got up, went out into the hall, down the hall to the front door, opened it, and looked out just in time to see the boy racing down the stairs. Am I right?
That's the story.
That's what happened.
15 seconds after he heard the body fall.
Correct.
His bed was by the window. It's 12 feet from his bed to the bedroom door. The length of the hall is 43 feet 6 inches. He had to get up, out of bed, get his canes, walk 12 feet, open the bedroom door, walk 43 feet, and open the front door. All in 15 seconds. Do you think this is possible?
You know it's possible.
I don't see why not.
He would have been in a hurry. He didn't hear the scream.
He can only walk very slowly. They had to help him into the witness chair.
You make it sound like it's a long walk. It's not.
For an old man with 2 canes, it's a long walk.
Hey, what are you doing?
I want to try this thing. Let's see how long it took. I'm going to pace off 12 feet, the length of the bedroom.
You're crazy. You can't recreate a thing like that.
Perhaps if we could see it. This is an important point.
This is a ridiculous waste of time.
Let him do it.
I don't see the harm in it. Foolish, but go ahead.
Hand me a chair, please. Thank you. All right, this is the bedroom door. How far would you say it is from here to the door of this room?
I'd say it was about 20 feet.
About that, yeah.
20 feet is close enough. All right, from here to the door and back is about 40 feet. It's shorter than the length of the hall the old man had to move through. Wouldn't you say that?
A few feet, maybe.
Look, this is absolutely insane. What makes you think you can do this?
We can't stop him.
Do you mind if I try it? According to you, it'll only take 15 seconds. We can spare that. Who's got a watch with a second hand?
I have.
When you want me to start, stamp your foot. That'll be the body falling.
I'll time you from there.
Let's say he keeps his canes right by his bed, right?
Right.
Okay, I'm ready.
I just want the hand to be at 60.
Speed it up. I mean, he would have walked twice as fast as that.
This is, I think, even more quickly than the old man walked in the courtroom.
No, it isn't.
If you think I should go faster, I will.
Speed it up a little bit.
Stop.
Right.
What's the time?
15, yeah. 20, 25, 30, 35, 39 seconds exactly.
That can't be.
39 seconds. Now that's interesting.
Hey now,
Would
you know.
Look at that.
39 seconds. 39. And the old cripple swore on his oath that it was 15. And he may have been a little bit off on the speed that the old cripple moved at, but 24 seconds off. Now, you know.
Far be it from me to call anyone a liar, but still accounting for quite a difference in speed between the old man and, well, you. There's still quite a
discrepancy.
It's my guess that the old man was trying to get to the door, heard someone racing down the stairs, and assumed that it was the boy.
I think that's possible.
Assumed. Now listen to me, you people. I've seen all kinds of dishonesty in my day, but this little display takes the cake.
What dishonesty?
Tell him. You come in here with your heart bleeding all over the floor about slum kids and injustice, and you make up these wild stories. You've got some soft-hearted old ladies listening to you. Well, I'm not. I'm getting real sick of you. What's the matter with you people? The kid is guilty. He's got to burn. We're letting him slip through our fingers.
Our fingers? Are you his executioner?
I'm one of them.
Perhaps you'd like to pull the switch.
For this kid, you bet I'd like to pull the switch.
I'm sorry for you.
Don't you start with me.
What it must feel like to want to pull the switch.
Shut up.
You're a sadist. You want to see this boy die because you personally don't want it, not because of the facts.
Shut up.
You're a beast. You disgust me.
Shut up! Stop. Shut up! I'll kill you! I swear to God, I'll kill you!
You don't really mean you'll kill me, do you?
Three, please be seated and turn off your phones. And please refrain from using any flash photography and enjoy the show. Thank you.
It's all a commotion.
It's fine. Nothing's going on in here.
All right.
You can take that back now. We're finished with it.
Well, what are you all looking at?
I don't see the need to behave like children here, nor do I. Look, we have a responsibility. This is a remarkable thing about democracy, that we are, what is the word? Notified. That we are notified by mail to come down to this place and decide on the guilt or innocence of a man. Of a man we have not known before. We have nothing to gain or lose by our verdict. This is the reason why we are strong. We should not make it a personal thing.
Thank you very much.
Why do you thank me?
We forget sometimes. It's good to be reminded. Yes.
I'm glad we're going to be civilized about this.
Well, we're still nowhere.
No, we're somewhere. Or getting there. Maybe.
Maybe.
Who's got an idea?
I think maybe we should try another vote. Madam Foreman?
It's all right with me.
Let's
Any
call the votes
objections?
out. I want to know where we stand.
Right. Okay. I vote guilty. 2,
I vote not guilty.
3,
Guilty.
4,
Guilty.
5,
Not guilty.
6,
Not guilty.
7,
Guilty.
8,
Not guilty.
9,
Not guilty.
10,
Guilty.
11,
Not guilty.
12.
Guilty.
It's 6 to 6.
I'll tell you something. The crime is being committed right in this room.
The vote is 6 to 6.
I'll tell you something. I'm ready to walk into court right now and declare a hung jury. There's no point in this going on any longer.
I'd like to know why you changed your vote, and why you changed your vote, and why you did. There are 6 people here who think we may be turning a murderer loose in the streets. Most of them won't do. Why?
It would seem to me that the old man did not see the boy run downstairs. I don't think it is likely that the old man heard the boy scream, "I'm going to kill you." Old men dream. And if the boy did scream that he was going to kill, then we have the authority of this man to prove that he might not really mean he's going to kill.
Why don't we take it into the judge and let the kid take his chances with 12 other strangers?
It's 6 to 6. I don't think we'll ever agree on anything.
It's got to be unanimous. And we're never going to convince him.
At first, I was alone. Now 5 others agree. There is a doubt.
You can't ever convince me that there's a doubt because I know there isn't no doubt.
I tell you what, maybe we are a hung jury. It happens sometimes.
We're not going to be a hung jury.
But we are. Right now, a perfect balance. Let's just take it into the judge.
I mean, if there is a reasonable doubt, I don't see it.
The doubt is there in my mind.
Maybe we should vote.
What do you mean vote?
Not again.
I mean, I still want to know, vote on what?
Are we or aren't we a hung jury?
You mean that we vote yes, we are a hung jury, or no, we are not a hung jury?
Yes, that's exactly what I had in mind.
We can't even agree on whether or not the window should be open.
Let's make it a majority vote. The majority wins.
So if 7 or more of us vote yes, that we are a hung jury, then we take it into the judge and tell him that we're a hung jury?
Right. And if 7 or more of us vote no, then we aren't a hung jury. And we go on discussing it.
Doesn't seem quite right to me.
Whatever, it's the only solution.
Anything to end this.
I agree. It's the only way.
Let's call our votes out.
Great. Are we all in agreement then? 7 or more votes yes, and we take it into the judge. Okay. I vote yes. We're a hung jury. 2,
No.
3,
Yes.
4,
Yes.
5,
No.
6,
No.
7,
Yes.
8,
No.
9,
No.
10,
Yes.
11,
No.
12,
Yes.
Come on.
6 to 6.
Bah, we can't even get a majority on whether or not we're a hung jury.
I went along with the majority vote on this question, but I didn't agree with voting that way. And I still don't. So I'm changing my vote. I say, no, we're not a hung jury. Now, I still believe that the boy is guilty of murder, but there are still some things I'd like to find out from those individuals to change their minds.
Right. Then we aren't a hung jury. So we go on discussing it.
Good. We go on.
Why did you change your vote?
Oh, well, he's made a couple of good points. Well, he only gets mad and insults everybody.
Does the anger and the insult change the guilt of the kid? He did do it. Are you going to turn a murderer loose on the streets because one of the jurors gets angry when he thinks a murderer is going to be turned loose?
That's true.
There is a doubt.
I don't think so. The track is straight in front of the window. Let's take that point. So the L train would have made a low, rumbling noise. Now, L trains screech when they go around curves. So the old man could have heard a scream, which is high-pitched. And it is a tenement, so they have thin walls.
Good. Good, that's it. That's it.
And what if the old man was wrong about the time it took him to get to the door, but right about whom he saw? Please remember that there weren't any fingerprints found on the knife. And it is summer, so gloves seem unlikely.
Now I want you to listen to this man. He's got the goods.
And it may have taken the murderer a few seconds to get out a handkerchief and wipe away all the fingerprints.
Why don't we time this one, just to see?
Just what are we
Timing exactly?
Yes, let's be precise, please.
I'm saying that the old man could have been wrong about the time it took him to get to the door, but right about whom he saw running down the stairs. Now, it may have taken the murderer about 39 seconds to wipe away all the fingerprints and get down the stairs to the place where the old man saw him. The boy, that is.
See that? This is right.
We reconstructed the old man getting out of bed and going to the door. We timed that. Now let's reconstruct the actual killing.
But as well as we can reconstruct it.
I think a murderer could use up 30 or 40 seconds pretty easily at that point.
Let's reconstruct the killing.
Yes, let's.
Here. You do the stabbing.
No. I'll do it.
All right. Then how about you be the one who gets stabbed? You're younger than I am. And don't forget, you take 1 second to fall.
And he was found on his side, his right side. So fall and roll onto your right side. If someone hates another person enough to kill them, don't you think it's reasonable to assume that the murderer would look at his victim for a second or two?
Divorce yourself from this particular case, just human nature.
Seems reasonable.
Hey, wait a second. He falls and he ends up on his right side. The father does, but stabbing someone isn't like shooting them, even when it's right in the chest. The father would have fell to the ground and worked around for a few seconds, writhing maybe.
That's quite possible. There would have been enough oxygen in his system to last him for 2 or 3 seconds, I should think.
Wouldn't the father have cried out?
Maybe the kid held his mouth.
That also seems possible.
Also, there's another point we might bring out here. Anyone who is clear enough mentally to wipe away all the fingerprints after murdering someone, well, that person is also clear enough mentally to look around the apartment, or the room in this case, to search for any other clues.
This gets better and better.
We're trying to make it clear here. One doesn't talk about quality when murder is involved. Well, let's do it.
About this on the fingerprints, we know the boy wiped the fingerprints off the knife, but what about the doorknobs? If I saw a man come into my home, a man who hated me, and he was wiping the doorknobs with a handkerchief as he entered, well, this would give me an uneasy feeling.
Yeah.
So the boy must have wiped the doorknobs after the killing. And this, too, would have taken some time.
You timed the last one. Why don't you time this one, too?
All right.
Stamp your foot when you want me to start.
I just want the hand to be at 60.
I'm going to kill you. You would have wiped both knobs. And stop.
Right. 15, 20, 25, 29. About 29 and a half seconds, I'd say.
And whoever did kill the old man, and I think it was the kid, he still had to get down the hall and down the stairs. At least one flight of stairs.
There. You see? You see?
So in view of this, while the old man could have been wrong on the time, I think it's quite reasonable to assume that he did see the kid run downstairs.
So now both time sequences check. The one you did and the one we did. What with running down the stairs and everything, it does pretty much check out on times.
Sure, he's an old man who wants attention, but the old man feels the way everyone does. A life is at stake.
So the story of the old man may well have been true.
Except for the fact that he absolutely swore under oath there was only 15 seconds.
We seem to be all in agreement there was more like 40 seconds.
You're now admitting that the old man lied in one case and told the truth in the other. I admit this does tend to confirm the story of the old man, but in part he is now a proven liar. And this is by your own admission.
That may be true that the old man lies by part, but I think it will change my vote once more. Guilty.
That's what I'm talking about. What about you? What do you think now?
I'm not sure what I think. I want to talk some more. At first, I thought guilty. Then I changed. Now I'm sort of swinging back to guilty.
And you?
No, I'm in real doubt now. Real doubt.
I say guilty. I was right the first time.
Now we're starting to make sense in here.
The vote seems to be about 9-3 in favor of guilty.
One more thing about the old man downstairs. How many of you live in apartment buildings?
I don't know what you're thinking, but I know what I am thinking.
What's that?
I don't live in a tenement, but it is close, and there's just enough light in the hall so you can see the steps. No more. The light bulbs are so small. And this murder took place in a tenement, correct? Remember how we stumbled on the steps?
The police officers were using big bulbs, and one even had a flashlight, remember?
An old man who misjudged the time by 20 seconds. On this, we all agree. This old man looked down the dark hallway of a tenement and recognized a running figure.
He was 100% wrong about the time. It took him twice as long as he thought.
Then could not the old man be 100% wrong about who he saw?
That's the most idiotic thing I've ever heard. You're making that up out of thin air.
We're hung, jury. Let's be honest about it.
Look, do you truly feel there's no room for reasonable doubt?
Yes, I do.
I beg your pardon, but perhaps you don't understand the term reasonable doubt.
What do you mean I don't understand it? Who do you think you are to talk to me that way? How do you like this guy? He comes in here running for his life, and before he can even take a big breath, he's telling us how to run the show. The arrogance of him.
No one is asking where anyone came from.
I was born right here.
Or where your father came from.
Maybe it wouldn't hurt us to take a few tips from people who came running here. Maybe they learned something we don't know. We're not so perfect.
Please, I'm used to this. It's all right.
It's not all right.
Okay, I apologize. Is that what you want?
That's what I want.
All right, let's stop the arguing. Who's got anything constructive to say?
Well, something's been bothering me a little. Something about the stab wound and how it was made. The downward angle of it, you know.
Oh, come on. Don't tell me we're going to start with that again. They went over it and over it in court.
I know they did, but something just doesn't fit. You see, the son, he's 5'8" tall, and his dad, he's 6'2" tall. That's a difference of 6 inches, and I would think it would be pretty awkward to stab someone downward.
All right, look, you're not going to be convinced till you see it again. So I'm going to give you a little demonstration. One of you, get up. All right, now I want you guys to watch this carefully. I don't want to have to do this again. All right, is that 6 inches?
That's more than 6 inches.
All right, let it be more.
Look out!
Oh,
That's not funny.
What's the matter with you?
all right, calm down. Nobody was hurt, were they?
No. Nobody's hurt.
There it is. Down and in. That's how I'd stab a taller man in the chest, and that's how it was done. Take a look at it. Tell me I'm wrong.
Down and in. I guess there's no argument.
Did you ever stab a man?
Of course not.
Did you?
All right, let's not be silly.
Did you?
No!
Where'd you get all your information about how it's done?
What do you mean? It's just common sense.
Have you ever seen a man stabbed?
No.
All right. Let me ask you something. The kid was an experienced knife fighter. He was even sent to reform school for knifing someone. Isn't that so?
That's right.
Take a look at this. Doesn't it seem like an awkward way to handle a knife?
What are you asking us for?
Wait a minute. What's the matter with me? Pass me that knife.
Have you ever seen a knife fight?
Yes, I have.
In the movies?
In my backyard, on my stoop, in the vacant lot across the street from where I've lived. I've seen too many of them. Switch knives came with the neighborhood where I lived. It's funny that I didn't think of it sooner. I guess you try and forget these things. Anyway, anyone who's ever used a switch knife would never have stabbed downward. You don't handle a switch knife that way. You use it underhanded.
Then he couldn't have made that kind of wound that killed his father.
I suppose it's conceivable that he could have made the type of wound, but it's not likely. Not if he'd ever had any experience with switch knives. And we know that the kid had a lot of experience with switch knives.
I don't believe it.
Neither do I. You're giving us a lot of mumbo jumbo.
What do you think?
Well, I don't know.
What about you?
Look, okay, you know what? I'll tell you guys all something. I'm getting a little sick of this whole thing already, so, let's just break it up and go home. We're getting nowhere fast anyway.
Before we decide anything more, I want to try to pull this thing together.
This should be good.
You guys are right.
Do you want me to?
Go ahead.
Do you want me to time this too?
Let's hear him.
I'm in advertising. I'm used to the big shots pulling things together. Let's chip up a few shots to see if any of them land on the green.
I want you all to look at this logically and consistently.
We have guilty.
I want to know, is the kid smart or is the kid dumb?
What do you mean?
This is a kid who's been to the reform school for knife fighting. The night of the murder, he bought a knife, a switch knife. It would then take a very stupid kid to go and murder a man, his father, with an instrument that everyone would associate with the kid.
I quite agree. He's dumb.
However, if he were dumb, why did he make that kind of wound that an inexperienced man would make with a knife?
I'm not sure I follow.
To murder someone must take a great emotion, a great hatred. And at that moment, he would handle the knife as best as he could. And a trained knife fighter would handle it as he'd been trained, underhand. A man who had not been trained would go overhand. But the kid is being very smart. Everyone knows he's an experienced knife fighter. So he's smart enough at that moment to make a kind of wound that an amateur would make. That man is a smart man. Smart enough to wipe fingerprints away. Perhaps even smart enough to wait for an L train to pass by in order to cover the noise. Now, is the kid smart or is he dumb?
Hey, now wait a minute.
Also, if the woman across the L track saw the murder taking place, doesn't it stand to reason that somebody on board the L train would have seen it happening too?
Possibility, but no one did that we know of.
It would take an awfully dumb man to murder somebody as an L train was going past.
Exactly. A dumb man, a very stupid man. A man swept by emotion. Probably he heard nothing. He probably didn't even hear the train coming. And whoever did murder the father did as well as he could.
So?
The kid is dumb enough to do everything to associate himself with the switch knife, a switch knife murder. And the moment after the murder, he becomes smart. The kid is smart enough to make a kind of wound that would lead us to suspect someone else. Yet at the same instant, he's dumb enough to do the killing as an L train is going by. And then a moment after, he's smart enough to wipe fingerprints away. To make this boy guilty, you have to say he's dumb from 8 o'clock until about midnight. Then about midnight, he's smart 1 second. Then dumb for a few seconds. Then smart again. And then once again, he becomes stupid. So stupid that he does not think of a good alibi. Now, is the kid smart or is he dumb? To say that he's guilty, you have to toss his intelligence like a pancake. There is doubt, doubt, doubt.
I hadn't thought of that.
And the old man downstairs. On the stand, he swore it was 15 seconds. He insisted on 15 seconds. But we all agree it must have been almost 40 seconds.
So does the man lie half the time and tell the truth the other half?
For the kid to be guilty, he must be stupid. Then smart, then stupid, then smart, and so on. And also for the kid to be guilty, the old man downstairs must be a liar half the time, and the other half the time he must tell the truth. You can reasonably doubt.
I'm sold on reasonable doubt.
I think I am too.
I wanted more talk and now I've had it.
I want another vote.
Okay. There's another vote called for. And I think the quickest is by a show of hands. Are we all in agreement with that? Okay. All those voting guilty, raise your hands. Okay. All those voting not guilty? The vote is 9-3 in favor of not guilty.
I don't understand, you people! How can you believe that this kid is innocent? Look, you know how these people lie. I don't have to tell you. They don't know what the truth is. And let me tell you, they don't need no real big reason to kill someone either. You know, these people are drinking and bang! Someone's lying in the gutter. Look, nobody's blaming them. That is just how they are. You know what I mean? Like violent. Human life don't matter to them as much as it does to us. Look, These people are drinking and fighting, and if someone gets killed, so someone gets killed. Hey, come back. Going! I'm trying to speak my piece, and you listen to me! They're no good. There's not a single one of them who's any good. Take it from me, this kid on trial, well, don't you know about them? Listen to me! I'm
I've
trying
heard
to
enough.
tell you.
If you open your mouth again, I'm going to split your skull.
I'm only trying to tell you.
All right, everybody. Let's sit down. Now, I still believe that the boy is guilty of murder. And I'll tell you why. To me, the most damning piece of evidence was provided by the woman across the street, who claims she actually saw the murder committed.
That's what I mean. That's the whole case.
All right, let's go over the testimony. What did she say?
I believe I can recount it accurately. She said she went to bed at around 11 o'clock that night. Now, her bed was right next to the open window, and she could look out of the window while she was lying down and see directly into the window across the street. Now, she tossed and turned for over an hour, unable to fall asleep. Finally, at about 12:10, she turned towards the window, and as she looked out, saw the boy stab his father. I mean, as far as I can see, that is unshakable testimony.
That's what I mean. That's the most important piece of evidence.
Frankly, in view of this, I don't see how any of you can vote for acquittal. What do you think?
Well, maybe. There's so much evidence to sift.
What do you mean, maybe? He's absolutely right. You can throw out the rest.
That was my feeling. Look, I don't deny the validity of the points he's made. So shall we say on one side of the tracks there's doubt? But what can you say about the story of the woman? She saw it.
What time is it?
10 minutes of 6.
You don't suppose they let us go home and finish this up in the morning? I've got a kid with mumps.
Not a chance.
Can't you see the clock without your glasses?
Not clearly.
Oh.
Glasses are a nuisance, aren't they?
Well, what do you all do when you wake up at night and want to know what time it is?
I put on my glasses and look at the clock.
I just lie in bed and wait for the clock to chime. My father gave it to us when we married, my wife and I. It was about 10 years until we had a place to put it.
Do you wear glasses to bed?
Of course not. Who wears glasses to bed?
The woman who testified that she saw the killing wears glasses. What about her?
Did she wear glasses?
Of course, the woman wore bifocals. I remember this very clearly. They look quite strong too.
Yes, bifocals. And she said that she never took them off.
Funny. I hadn't thought of that.
I think it's logical to say that she wasn't wearing glasses in bed. And I don't think she'd put them on to glance casually out the window. She testified that the murder took place the instant she looks out, and that the lights went on a split second later. She couldn't have had time to put on her glasses then. Now, perhaps this woman honestly thought she saw the boy kill his father. I say she only saw a blur.
How do you know what she saw? Maybe she's farsighted. How does he know these things?
Does anyone still think there is not a reasonable doubt?
I'll always wonder, but there is reasonable doubt.
Does anyone else?
No. I'm convinced now. There is a reasonable doubt.
You're alone.
I don't care whether I'm alone or not. I have a right.
Yes, you have a right.
Well, I told you, I think the kid's guilty. What more do you want?
Your arguments.
I gave you my arguments.
We're not convinced. We're waiting to hear them again. We have time.
Hey, listen, what's the matter with you? You're the guy, you made all the arguments. You can't turn now. A guilty man, a murderer's gonna be walking the streets. He's got to die. Stay with me.
I'm sorry. I'm convinced now. I don't think I'm wrong very often, but I guess I was this once. There is a reasonable doubt in my mind.
We're waiting.
You're not going to intimidate me. I'm entitled to my opinion. It's gonna be a hung jury, that's it.
There's nothing we can do about that, except hope that some night, maybe in a few months, why? you might get some sleep.
You're all alone.
It takes a great deal of courage to stand alone.
And if it is a hung jury, then there'll be another trial. And some of us will point these things out to the various lawyers.
All right!
We're finished.
The rating. Not guilty.
Not guilty.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. We have a few final thank yous before we let you go. First, to everyone who helps